Flight controller is gonna go for landing. Retro. Go. Go. GNC. Go. Econ. Go. Control. Go.
Ninth Planet Audio.
Capcom, we're go for landing.
Everywhere we've turned, we've heard one name over and over.
Northeast on Shaun Alexander Way, then turn right to stay on Shaun Alexander Way.
It's Shaun Alexander, Shaun Alexander, Shaun Alexander. Shaun Alexander Way. So, that's the guy.
Well, do you know Shaun Alexander?
We are trying to get Shaun.
I don't,
yeah.
but I can ask.
Yeah, if you know anyone
I can get you in front of the mayor.
He seems like
I don't
he's
have
going to
any.
be
We went to high school. I went to high school with him.
Yeah.
But I don't have any in with him.
Who's that? Shaun Alexander? Do you know him? I think that we're at a place where our big white whale is still Shaun Alexander.
Totally.
And we're kind of going at it from a few different angles of like the entertainment angle. Shaun Alexander is a local hero, and his legacy in the community is unshakable. For every naysayer that brings up school legacy as a reason not to change the mascot, who carries a larger stake in our school's legacy than Shaun? We spent the last episode talking about how a hometown hero like Calais Campbell can influence the community, reinforcing the fact that when champions speak, the school listens. For those of you who didn't watch football between 2000 and 2008, let me catch you up on this man's record.
What a run by Shaun Alexander! Can you believe that? Shaun Alexander has been the man today. Into the end zone, touchdown Seahawks! Slipping another tackle and he's on his way to the 5, touchdown Seahawks!
Born in Florence in 1977, Shaun attended Boone County from 1991 to 1995, playing football, basketball, baseball, and track. He was in Sports Illustrated in 2 different features while just at Boone County. He committed to playing college football for the University of Alabama, becoming a part of the storied Crimson Tide program. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist and was on the cover of the video game NCAA Football 2001. That's the kind of impact he was making even before reaching the NFL. In 2000, the Seattle Seahawks selected him in the first round, 19th overall. He earned the NFL Most Valuable Player award in 2005 and broke the single-season touchdown record. He again was on the cover of the video game Madden NFL 2007.
He was an all-around running back, and that's not a cliche. He could do everything.
This is Kevin Clark, host of the podcast This is Football. But more importantly, he covered the NFL for the Wall Street Journal during Shaun Alexander's main NFL years. So he has a great insight on what made Shaun an MVP.
He was physical. He was fast. He was dependable with the ball. He got in the end zone. There wasn't anything he couldn't do. You trusted him to get the yardage he needed, which is the literal job description of a running back. And so there was beauty in his game. There was brutality in his game. He knew how to play any type of game, and that is one of the reasons he helped define his era of running back play.
Shaun Alexander was the best running back of his time, which back then really meant something.
The thing you have to understand about this era of football is it's the last era in which the running back was a god. Right after this, all of the rules started to change. All of the quarterbacks started to get better. And I think most people within the NFL consider that basically what's called the passing boom. That started around 2011, if you look at the stats. And Shaun Alexander had left the league by 2009. I don't think that that's much of a coincidence. I think that you saw this generation of running backs, LaDainian Tomlinson, Shaun Alexander, guys like that, who put franchises on their back. And I think that that's the most important thing to know is I think people now look at the running back position as replaceable or not what it was. Shaun Alexander was a different era. Adrian Peterson, another great example. Adrian Peterson won the MVP award in 2012, and that was kind of the last gasp of the running back position, and it's been quarterbacks ever since. Shaun Alexander belonged to a different era, which in football terms feels like a million years ago.
Yeah, totally.
The running back position and Shaun Alexander in particular, if you look at him and you watch him play in high school, he's probably like the coolest guy in the world. If you saw him play at Alabama, and I did, it's the coolest thing in the world. The coolest thing in the world is to say, I have the ball and I'm going to run through you.
Beyond Seattle, Alexander briefly played for the Washington Commanders when they were still called the Redskins, before retiring from professional football in 2008.
Shaun, his wife, and their 10 children reside in rural Virginia.
Touchdown!
He's comfortable living in the obscurity that he tried hard to escape.
So yeah, while I may have more followers on Instagram, 100,000 versus Shaun's 39,000, sorry, he carries a lot more weight with the people of Florence. And so we knew that connecting with Shaun was crucial to our movement to change the Boone County High School team name.
I was a lady rebel. Like, what does that even mean?
will stay the Boone County Rebels with the image of...
It's right here in black and white in print. They might
bigger than a flag or mascot.
Anytime you're trying to mess with tradition, you have to be ready for a serious backlash.
From Ninth Planet Audio, I'm Akila Hughes, and this is Rebel Spirit, Episode 8, Shaun. When we began our search for Shaun Alexander, I thought it would be easy. This guy was on the cover of Sports Illustrated multiple times. He was on the cover of 2 video games. He was on TV rushing for his team for nearly a decade. He's been nominated for the NFL Hall of Fame pretty much every year for the last 10 years. He should not be hard to find. But listener, I could not have been more wrong.
Damn. This man is online, but never checks his DMs or anything. Like, it's really weird.
I reached out to the Seahawks. I reached out to Alabama. I reached out to the NFL Players Association.
Yeah.
I feel like his account's got to be run by maybe someone else, or who knows. Maybe he doesn't know how
If
to.
so, he needs to pay them less, because I'm like, it's not doing much.
Yeah. Maybe he just doesn't know how to check messages.
Like, if I'm looking for a job, maybe I need to put my hat in the ring. Like
100%.
We tried every email address and contact field we could find on the internet. Nothing. A promising moment came when the NFL Players Association gave us the email they had on file for his manager. That email address bounced. We reached a speaking agent for Shaun, who rebuffed our inquiry because they only repped for paid opportunities. They told us to talk with his agent, but gave us no contact. Finally, our producer Elizabeth used her contacts in the entertainment industry to get what seemed like a solid connection.
We've tried tons of different ways, but do you have a way to see if he has like a manager or a publicist or any way?
Yeah.
We can't find anything about him besides just like a submission contact form.
That he's with Independent Sports and Entertainment.
Okay.
And he's with Ashley Smith Becker, it says.
Okay.
So let me try Ashley.
Okay.
I'll also just ask around.
It seemed like we were onto something, but pretty quickly we hit another dead end. Eventually, we got what we believe was a direct phone number and email address for Shaun. I sent an email where I pled my case. Dear Shaun, I hope this message finds you and your family well, rested, and blessed. I'm Akila Hughes. I'm a writer, comedian, podcaster, and Boone County High School alum from the class of 2005. I'm working on a podcast for iHeartRadio about the school, and frankly, all roads lead back to you. We spoke with parents, students, alum, the school board, business owners in the area, the Florence Y'alls, and it is clear that your legacy in the area is felt and appreciated by everyone who has been there since your time at Boone. You really are their superstar. This project is really important to Florence, and we'd love to speak with you for it. I know you're busy, and we don't need much of your time. 15 to 30 minutes would be wonderful, less if that's all you have. From the research my producers and I have done, you are still very much involved in sports and your collegiate athlete rankings, doing podcast appearances, and showing up in person to celebrate the game. But more than that, you seem to be a dedicated family man, and we would love to speak with you about all of it. Can't wait to hear back and hopefully speak soon. Warmly, Akila Hughes. We got no response. I called the number, but just got a voicemail. I sent texts. My producers sent texts. Nothing. Even Calais Campbell, the NFL star who helped Denver South move from the Rebels to the Ravens, offered to reach out to Shaun.
I mean, I probably could get in touch with him, though. The current players are easier to get.
We have his contact. If you want to talk to him, we will give you his contact. It would be very helpful.
But to the best of our knowledge, never got through. Then finally, we found our way in. We'll be right back.
So Duran Alexander, he's his brother.
Message him.
I'm going to message him. Okay, this is good.
Even with our access to agents, publicists, and managers, it is abundantly clear that the platform of choice for reaching out and connecting with people in Florence is Facebook.
Yeah, so I can message Duran because we're already friends. What should I say? He was active 58 minutes ago.
He's on there.
I'm never on here. I'm going to have to get back on Facebook for real. I'm going to say, hey, Duran. How you doing? I'm working on a...
And Facebook paid off.
I'm really excited because it's like, this is the closest we've gotten. I mean, I feel like we've tried everything. We've tried his agents. We've tried his like people who have arranged other speaking and podcast deals for him. I feel like there are feelers out to the NFL. It seems like we're very close. So now we have a relative, who also went to Boone County. So that's helpful. I think that he'll have at least a fair review of what the school was like anyway. And also just maybe some insight about the mascot, but maybe this is the key to getting to Shaun.
When I came through Boone with my brother, you're talking about you can count on one hand, maybe two.
Yeah. Yeah. There weren't that many of us out here. And we were counting. To be clear, I was always counting the black kids. I'm like, all right.
And we were related to many. You know what I mean?
Can you believe it? This is actually, truly Duran Alexander, Shaun's brother, and also an alum of Boone County High School, class of 1994. If you'll recall, up until now, we haven't interviewed any other Black alums of Boone County High School, so I was truly excited to hear more about Duran's experience at BCHS, and by extension, Shaun's.
Yeah, so high school for me, I don't know, well, no one would know, but the data, I'm from the mid-90s. So we came up then, and and honestly, like high school was a positive experience for me. I was very fortunate with the people that I came up with through middle school and high school. Very positive because when I came through Boone with my brother, administration they tried to make sure that the time there that you really were about just learning and getting that opportunity. Myself, I stayed very active in band. Basketball, baseball. My brother did basketball, baseball, and football, and it just allowed us to have a positive experience there. Being lifelong Boone County people, really, his overall goal was just to play on the football team and make it to state. Our football team was that good, and that was the goal.
By the time Shaun reached high school, he and his brother Duran were being raised by their single mother in low-income housing.
Our mom was just all about just going to school. I remember telling my brother when he finished his junior year, I said, "Man, do you know if you had a season that was like even half as this, like you could get a college scholarship?" And we were like, "That's crazy. That's insane."
Like, no way. Yeah.
Oh, really? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it was exciting, but we just didn't even really realize that, kind of what he was and what was even at stake. You have to remember, like, this is before social media and before, you could tap in and say who was doing what. So we only knew that, like, hey, we're really good. And there's a lot of people that are coming out to see him. If he hadn't scored by the end of the first quarter, they're like, "Hey, is everything all right? Is he doing okay?" So it was amazing because, when you're in it like that and without having, like I said, social media, you don't realize that what he was doing was just so abnormal.
Duran's got a great point about the lack of social media in the 90s and how that probably allowed the students to sort of live within the bubble of their own community and celebrate what probably now feels like a golden age of their high school's history. But looking back, I have to wonder what Duran remembers about the introduction of Mr. Rebel and whether he and Shaun felt there was any issue with it, or if, like most teenagers, they were just having fun with their friends and trying to win a state championship, or in Duran's case, learning the newest song for the marching band.
I was trying to even think like band wise, because old school, we were the Rebel Brigade, Rebel Brigade, and I'm trying to think like we used to have like the man on the horse, right, with the with the sword or whatever. They introduced Mr. Rebel, but they had just changed from Rebels like Rebel color, Confederate color. And they changed it over to the kind of what the blue and white
blue,
bars or blue.
Blue, yeah.
I mean, so they made it. So yeah, so it actually was one of my friends on the basketball team. So his dad actually had the costume and wore it. You know what I mean? And he was so he was in there. You know.
Yes.
Quick interjection. Judy and H.B. Deathridge's sons, Mike and John, went to BCHS at the same time as Shaun and Duran and played on many of their same teams.
Right around that time, and it was really, it was interesting. That's when I even brought up the administration before, because, like, as it was making the change, as you can imagine, there were some people who were for it, and they were, yes, like, hey, let's make the change, and some people who were not. They wanted to keep it the old way.
The old way, remember, was waving the Confederate flag.
yeah, so we've been brought into the office and sat down, and what did we think about rebels? What did we think that was going on? We had people still trying to hoist the flag up at the school.
All right, I just need to pause for a moment here, because here's the administration of Boone County High School in the early 1990s, bringing their top athletes into the office, 2 of the only Black students in the school, I should add, and asking them what they thought of the name Rebels. So all the way back then, they knew. They knew.
Yeah, and I just had a couple friends. They were in fights every other day.
Yeah, they were like, "I'm gonna fight you. Put that flag away."
That's right. You know what I mean? Yeah. You ain't gonna wave that flag and act like you didn't wave it. Yeah, we're gonna have a problem.
H.B. Deathridge has mentioned in the past that he wanted to get Confederate flags out of the school, and there were students who were standing up for themselves, getting into actual fights with racist bullies who brought it to events. So Duran and Shaun were clearly valuable members of the BCHS community. They participated in sports, the band, they were personally asked how they felt about the name Rebels, so I've got to ask him about the biscuits. I know, I'm a glutton for punishment, but what if he loves it?
What do you think of the Boone County Biscuits? Just as a name.
The Boone County what?
Biscuits.
So, okay, so like a proposal, or
I feel like it has the same syllables. It's if they want to be proud of the South and their Southern heritage, the Biscuits are a proud icon.
No, you can't. No, I can't go with you on that one. There's, yeah, you know what I mean? Because I still think, even though they're not good, there are a couple of sports teams, you know what I mean, that at least are decent, right, for Boone County, right? You know what I mean? You're going to be hard pressed to get some kids. You know what I mean? Hey, we're going to circle. Hey, they going to feel us today. Everybody, one hand in, one hand in. I'm going to represent the Biscuits.
It's pretty. I think it's
going to be,
as a person who didn't do sports, I love it. But I hear you. It's a hard sell. All right.
You know what I mean?
Right. They're going to get chomped. They're going to get chomped if they lose.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
a hard one.
Yes, yeah, you all saw that coming. But despite not being a fan of the Biscuits, I could tell he knew how out of sync Rebels is with both the surrounding schools' mascots and with the demographic of kids who go there now. I told him the story of Calais Campbell helping Denver South change to the Ravens and asked if it's not Biscuits or Rebels, what should it be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a good question, because like I could see Ravens, you know what I mean, more than...
Well, if it was going to be something else, it's like you have the Cougars, you have...
Cooper is Jaguars. Yeah, Cooper's Jaguars.
Yeah, so it's like, it could be the Panthers. It could be something that's like, just an animal seems like it's going to have the most longevity.
The other one is Ryle is the Raiders. So they'll have the, like the pirate dude, right, with the orange bandana and the, the eye patch or whatever. For Boone, like they've done so much in that line, like, and say, hey, like, we're not that. If you see the demographic of Boone County now.
Oh, yeah. It's different. I was like, I can't believe it. Every shade of beige, brown, tan, dark. Like,
oh my goodness, right? I mean, so many countries are represented, over there. We have in Florence in general, a huge, just like, I mean, not just Black, but I mean, a huge African population. Like for whatever reason, a number of kids from the Congo, like we have a huge Congolese population that comes through Collins Elementary. I mean, like the diversity is there.
And we spoke to some students. I mean, like I truly spoke to kids who were like, I have no connection to Rebels. Like it doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, is it because you don't have a mascot? And they're like, well, yeah, like what is it? Like what even is it? Like they were like, I guess my school spirit is the color blue and that my friends go to school here. And I'm like, we probably need a mascot.
Yeah, knowing the history, and I would say that their effort to switch it from that,
yeah,
then it just left it as like, yeah, like, hey, you're a rebel. Star Wars, if you want to try to go, you know what I mean? If you want to be like
vaguely,
right, you know what I mean? I'm just, old school rebel without a cause. I'm just James Dean out the
That's what they say, right? But I'm like, where is the leather jacket?
Right. Then you would expect, right, which would even still be kind of dated.
Right. Kids don't know that movie.
Right. Like, it wouldn't be racially dated, but it would be weird, right? If everybody was like trying to rock leather jackets.
Yeah, like they're greasers,
And
right?
popping there, what's up? Yeah, that would be.
That's like dated for my mom. That's before she was born still. That's just not a thing.
Yeah.
And once again, we land ourselves back at James Dean. Hearing more about Duran's experience at Boone made me realize we had a lot of similar experiences. But what I find truly inspiring is how much Duran and Shaun have been able to do for the community in recent years through the Shaun Alexander Foundation. It's clear Shaun has left a positive mark on the school and Florence in general.
Shaun Alexander made an appearance this morning at Boone County High School. He gave a pep talk at a breakfast for Boone County's football team. He wanted to make an impression on what it means to be a rebel. That, of course, is the school's mascot.
I know his support in changing the mascot would be a game changer. So I'm crossing literally every finger and toe that somehow, some way, we can at least get our message to him. Whether it's through Duran or any of the dozens of other avenues we're trying, nevertheless, we persist. More after the break. I can imagine that right now you must be thinking, wow, they're getting so incredibly close to Shaun. He's definitely going to be the next interview. Listener, prepare yourself to be disappointed. As of our deadline for this episode, we have heard literally nothing from Shaun Alexander, which is more than a year from the first time we reached out to Shaun. I'm sure he has his reasons, but I still can't help but feel so incredibly deflated after getting so close in so many different ways. We truly did everything we could possibly think to get in touch with Shaun for this episode. But sometimes things just don't have the big, happy Hollywood ending we all hope for.
I think when Colin Kaepernick knelt the first time, I don't think he knew he would be blackballed from doing the thing that he loves at a thing that he's been doing was doing at a very high level for a long time.
This is Kevin Nyugen, a features editor at The Verge, where he publishes award-winning stories about labor, business, and policing. Previously, he was a senior editor at GQ.
GQ does this issue at the end of the year called the Men of the Year issue. We put Colin Kaepernick as one of several covers, and there's a photo shoot. And it's kind of an unusual story because we don't talk to Colin in the piece at all. He's participating, but he was being silent as part of his protest against police brutality and systemic racism.
We all remember when Colin Kaepernick, then the NFL quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, began his protest in 2016 by initially sitting and later kneeling during the national anthem before games. His actions ignited a nationwide debate. Athletes have long used their platforms for activism, but Kaepernick's protest occurred in a Trump presidency and social media-driven era when the country was openly divided.
It was kind of nuts to look back on and just see how far that traveled. 7 years out, or a little bit short of that, since, we worked on this GQ issue, and it's disheartening.
After the 2016 season, Colin Kaepernick's contract wasn't renewed by the San Francisco 49ers, and he became a free agent. He has not been signed by a single football team since. And so I had to ask, in light of what happened to Colin Kaepernick, is there any benefit for an athlete to stick their neck out for a good cause?
No. I don't think there's...
You're right.
What the NFL has done in silencing him, it worked. That chilling effect is real. There are a lot of athletes that, they don't want to go on the record about this stuff because all it does is, harm their career.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's the name of the running back from your high school?
His name is Shaun Alexander.
If he is a Hall of Fame candidate, he still doesn't want to, piss off the NFL. So while it'd be great for him to talk to you, I also understand why he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. There's doing the right thing. And then there's also the great personal cost. You're right. We haven't seen NFL players since then be well, I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
Why would they?
I don't want to say that there isn't some progress. It's easy to, see how silly an end racism thing is in the end zone. But I don't know, like we are like the league is acknowledging that racism even exists.
Yeah,
like,
that's the first time. So
that's progress. The league still like funnels you in a certain form of activism that
they find appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, they find appropriate. And I actually think the even if like some of the phrasing is stuff like you might find at a march, it's easy to tune out because it's on the back of everyone's helmet, and once you start seeing the same thing everywhere, like it's no longer a form of agitation. Like
Right.
It just washes over you. I feel like the path for activism tends to be to get noticed for media, and then from there, try and get the message out that way. But yeah, there's kind of like no silver bullet for this stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted Shaun Alexander to be my silver bullet so badly, but I know that's not fair. He's his own person and has his own motivations. Maybe he wants to run for public office someday. He likely values the support of the community for his philanthropic projects and doesn't want to risk alienating them. Or perhaps it's because he's been unfairly overlooked for the Football Hall of Fame for the last decade, and at this point, his priority is preserving his athletic legacy and wants to steer clear of social or political debates that could overshadow his achievements or complicate his legacy. But this is sports, and as much as people want it to just be about what happens on the field, it's about more than that.
The truth is that sports and politics have always mixed. Sports, politics, race, gender, culture always have mixed, together. I mean, Jackie Robinson integrated Major League Baseball in 1947. That was 20 years before we got the Civil Rights Act, okay? And it's like often sports has been placed in the intersection of these monumental changes, if not led the way when it comes to change.
This is Jemele Hill, influential American sports journalist known for her dynamic career at ESPN, where she co-hosted Sportscenter. Hill made headlines in 2017 for her outspoken criticism of President Donald Trump, calling him a white supremacist on Twitter after his infamous Good People on Both Sides press conference.
It was only bad people on one side. Those are the people that came to Charlottesville, Virginia, with the intentions to spread hate. I called the president on Twitter a white supremacist. And as they say, life took on, my life took on something of its own. I'm a SportsCenter anchor. That's not the type of criticism one would expect from a SportsCenter anchor. And granted, I did not say this on air, despite people believing that I did. I said this on my Twitter account in reply to someone else who was defending Trump, defending white supremacists. And so I got into a back and forth. Those tweets blew up, became an international story. The president called me out. And said that I should be fired. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was his press secretary, said the same thing at a White House press briefing. So it kind of took my name out of the realm of sports and put it into politics. And even though I've been interested in politics my whole, career, my main foothold is my main thing is sports. I've been a sports writer for almost 30 years now. So I left ESPN in 2018. The network was in a very uncomfortable spot after what I said. And it just felt like our relationship had kind of run its course. And I'd done everything there. It was other things I wanted to do with my career. I certainly wanted to get into some of the behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing now.
The Unite the Right rally was in August 2017, and Trump stated in September 2017 that NFL owners should fire players who kneel during the national anthem, like Colin Kaepernick. The intersection of race, sports, and politics was inescapable.
When you think about how the NFL has to wear that stain of what they did to him, because I don't think it'll ever be forgotten. You exiled somebody who only was speaking up for what is a humanitarian cause. Police brutality is something we should all be against. Right? That doesn't have a side. It's like, no, you shouldn't have the people who are paid to protect you should have unfettered, unchecked authority to brutalize, demean, sometimes kill the citizens they are supposed to protect. But if you think about historically how he's going to be remembered, there's the upside. Now, he didn't do it for that because he's not that kind of person. It's why you haven't heard him talk very much to the media since it's happened. You haven't seen him out. That's not what he does. He prefers to do the work and make the impact that way. And I understand that a lot of athletes look at it as, well, what if I piss off brands? What if marketers don't want to deal with me? And that's going to be part of the risk.
But Jemele thinks that things are changing.
I do think the sports audience is changed. I think they now, especially younger people, they kind of want to know what these athletes are about. Like they want to know, do you stand for something, or are you just about making money, or what are you doing beyond that? And part of the reason why I think that demand is being made more by sports fans is because of somebody like Colin Kaepernick, is because of somebody like LeBron James, who's also been equally outspoken. And I know LeBron is in a different position because he doesn't want to work with LeBron, right? So he's going to get a level of protection that's in there. But I do think that there is a lot more openness for it to be done. What I have enjoyed about covering this generation of athletes is that I don't think that they are necessarily following that model that sort of Michael Jordan gave for the blueprint of the athletes in the 90s. The Republicans buy shoes too. I don't think that today's athlete is really doing that. I mean, that's Gen Z in general. It's like they're very outspoken with how they feel about things. And I think that's like a very good thing.
Jemele Hill is the ideal person to weigh in on both our fight for the rebel change and Shaun's silence. While I only dealt with Judy Deathridge, Jemele stood up to a president. Plus, she has a deep understanding of athletes and the worlds they navigate.
At least in talking to, I don't think that speaking out is something that is required for every athlete. It is something that not every athlete is equipped to do. Because if some athletes speaking, I'm like, you could have really been quiet, but that's okay, right? Like you could have been quiet. Silence was an option, okay? I'm okay if you pass the mic, So I think we have to be careful in assuming that everybody's equipped to do it. And part of being equipped to do it means that you have to be mentally ready for the backlash. Sometimes what prevents people from speaking out is just feeling ostracized, because then people know like, oh, you're one of those, huh? You speak out, you have opinions, you're going to make us challenge something, especially when it comes to mascots. I mean, ask Washington fans how they feel about when theirs change. I mean, people have this, or even Kansas City Chiefs fans who've been called out about their behavior at games and the disrespect of the Native American and indigenous communities. People are hesitant to change, even though they're wrong as hell. And when you become the person who speaks out against something, especially that's something they look at as traditional, it can go bad. And even though Shaun may not be playing, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him, because I get torn about this when asked, like, should athletes speak up? Because generally they are afforded with a platform, with a certain amount of privilege that most people don't have. And I certainly come from, for me, I as a journalist, is one of the big reasons I became one, is like your whole ideology should be, you're supposed to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. We learned that in journalism school. That is the job, right? With athletes, that's not necessarily the job, but they are in a special position, especially as a Black athlete, and especially to be able to have some conversations with some people who might not ordinarily understand why something is wrong. They're in a unique position. But even after they have moved on from the game, there's still business opportunities. There's still alumni connections. There's still other things that they have to consider. And maybe it's just something, even though his voice could be very positive and impacting change, maybe it's something he's just not comfortable with, because thinking about the blowback feels like too much. So I hope that it's something that Shaun Alexander maybe thinks about. And maybe because you are, advocating for him to say something, maybe it's something that eventually he will. I mean, I hope he does, personally, because
Same.
At this, the truth is, like, it just sort of speaks to, of the many things that are wrong in this country, is that we don't denounce our racism, we build monuments to it. And so that's the part that I hope Shaun thinks about, is that this is about a larger concept of why we still are having trouble atoning from one of the greatest sins this nation has ever committed.
If some of you are thinking Shaun is just a private person, maybe he doesn't want to be involved with the media anymore, consider this. Shaun has been a guest on a few football podcasts just this past year, and there have been numerous write-ups about him not yet being in the Hall of Fame, despite being nominated multiple times. Shaun, if you're listening, let me say this clearly. Your career alone is Hall of Fame worthy, but you have a chance to be remembered for something equally significant, one that resonates deeply with every student in your hometown who has felt overlooked. Did you know the Seahawks got their name after a public naming contest with more than 20,000 entries? I bet you anything that if we got the school to give entries, you'd be the perfect person to pick the winner. Anyway, all that to say, the door is always open. Just feel free to reach out. I'm on all the socials. Hit us up at our email, rebelspiritpodcast@gmail.com. Truly, however you want to get in touch, we will be so happy to talk more with you. Even without Shaun Alexander, I was determined to continue my journey and actually speak to the school board about making this change. So in December of 2023, just before the holidays, me and my producers decided to spend one more week in Florence and officially make our case in front of both the school board and the BCHS School-Based Decision-Making Council. Get ready for some impassioned speeches. Coming up next week. Rebel Spirit is a production of Ninth Planet Audio in association with iHeart Podcasts. Reporting and writing by me, Akilah Hughes. I'm also an executive producer and the host. Produced by Dan Sinker. Edited by Josie Azam. Our assistant editor is Jennifer Dean. Music composed by Charlie Sun. Sound design and mixing by Josie Azam. Our theme song is All the Things I Couldn't Say, performed by Busty and the Bass, courtesy of Arts and Crafts Productions, Inc. Our production coordinator is Kyle Hinton. Our clearance coordinator is Anna Sonnenschein. Production accounting by Dilpreet Singh. Additional research support from Janice Dillard. Executive producers for Ninth Planet Audio are Elizabeth Bakewit and Jimmy Miller. Special thanks to Jay Becker and the whole team at BLDG, the Florence Yalls, Amber Hoffman, Hillary Delaney, and Leslie Chambers. If you have a racist mascot at your high school, or are an alumni of a high school with a racist mascot and want to share your own experience, please email us at rebelspiritpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.